There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I'm doing a Friday Reads on Thursday night with a bottle of wine to keep me lubricated. Because, well, I've got a husband who has trouble getting out of the bed in the morning, so I figure if I film it while he's at work on Thursday night, I can edit it while he's sleeping tomorrow morning because he just doesn't get out of bed, on a Friday especially. So I can edit while he's sleeping, but I am too self-conscious to film in this apartment when he is in the next room sleeping or doing anything else. So let's work around him, shall we? I've had a fabulous reading week. No bails, and I have finished 2, and they were both 5-star reads. I have just filmed a review for this, but the novella, the Canadian novella Malagash by Joy Camo, I finished last weekend and I absolutely loved it. Just hilarious and heartbreaking. My review will be up. I've got a backlog of videos, so it'll be up someday, but it was absolutely, wrenching and just made me want to pee my pants laughing. So there was the danger of water coming out both ends, people. It was just, it'll be one of the top reads of the year for sure. I loved it so much. And then I find out 5 minutes ago he's gay, born in Edmonton. There's not much going on in Canadian lit that's very interesting other than Miriam Taves, but recently I've had good luck with Taya Mutanji and this young guy, he's in his late 30s, Joey Camo. There's some secret talent there in Can lit world these days. Check out my review when it goes up because I'm really excited about him and this book. And then equally exciting, I finished the anthology of short fiction in translation, German Women Writers of the 20th Century. And that is edited by Elizabeth Herman and Edna Huttenmeyer, and I think I'm going to do a full review. It's not like me to try to do a review of an anthology of short fiction or a collection of short fiction. That is not my strong suit when it comes to doing reviews, but I feel passionate enough about this anthology. It's definitely the best anthology of short fiction I've ever read. I don't know how many of them I've read in my day, but usually, even if it's just a collection of short stories, the quality of the stories goes from absolute shit to brilliant. And in this, there might have been a couple that I would have given 4-star reads, and the rest were solid 5-star reads for short stories. That is phenomenal. I loved it. If you're looking for an introduction to German literature, and you have Scribd especially, check out this anthology because it just introduced me to so many writers. There was only one writer in there that I'd ever read before, and one more that I'd heard the name of. The rest of them were all new to me, and boy, loved it. I absolutely loved it. So thank you, Britta, for the recommendation. So that's what I finished. I have started a swack of new books. 5. I've started 5 new books. I am now 50 pages into Muriel Spark's The Mantelbaum Gate. This is my first read for Memento Mori-a-thon, and 50 pages in, I'm quite enjoying it. It is very different from any of the other Muriel Spark novels that I've read. It's extremely preoccupied with religious ethnic identity, and I haven't read enough to say exactly what it's about, but one of the main characters, at least thus far, is a half-Jewish, half-Gentile British woman who converted to Catholicism, and that resonates quite profoundly with what I remember of Muriel Spark's own biography. The other character, where I found the humor so far in this novel, is with this very milquetoast, bland British diplomat that's set in Israel. So far, most of it, Freddie Hamilton, and he is so bland and boring that he's absolutely hilarious. So, don't have much else to say about it, but it is very different, and I'm thinking I might end up liking it because of that. I might have found my Muriel. I've been interested in this novel for decades, ever since one of my friends, Candace, are you watching? She sometimes watches my video, and she wrote an essay on this novel, and I typed it for her, and that was in about the early 1990s, and I've been interested in it ever since, and I'm finally reading it thanks to Memento Mori. And I'm several chapters into Rohinton Mysteries' first novel, Such a Long Journey. This is a video discussion collaboration with Natalie of My Reading Days. Unfortunately, Greg, at the last minute, wasn't able to join us, which is disappointing, but that's fine. We'll do another collaboration with him later on. I'm absolutely loving the novel. 63 pages in, And some people say it's not as good as Fine Balance, and maybe it isn't, but I'm sure invested already. The first video that Natalia and I will put together on the first third of the novel should be up sometime next week, before next Friday Reads.
Theodor Fontane.
Effie Breach.
And I have started, I think I've double-checked the pronunciation. I got some help from a subscriber or two, so let me take a stab at it. Theodor Fontana is the author, and the title of the novel is Effie Breach. How did I do? I didn't take the time to look up all of the titles and author pronunciations for my TBR video because it would have added about 2 hours to the filming and preparation time, but I will do much better as I talk about each book in succession, so please help me. I'm really enjoying it. It started out really bland with a girl, is she 17 or something, helping her mother, it's not shell peas, but something like that, and then her girlfriends come calling, but then she tells them the story of the man who's coming to visit her parents, and it ends up being her mother's former gentleman caller who had courted her before she got married. And after all these years, he's come a-calling, and this all happens in the first chapter and a half, that in fact he has come to ask for, the girl is Effie Breach. The rich man had dated her mother, and now has come to ask for Effie Breach's hand in marriage, and the story goes from there. So it's like, wow. It started out a little bland in the first few pages, but it got quite dramatic quite quickly. I'm enjoying it. Don't have much else to say about it. I'm not in love with the translation by Mike Mitchell, I have to say, but the story is keeping me going. And I have started the short story collection by Edward P. Jones, Lost in the City. This is a buddy read with Sonia of An Enthusiastic Reader. And so far I have only read the first story, and it's the best story I've read since I finished the Alice Munro collection. Many of you on this channel, or even following me on Twitter recently, have heard my half-assed theory that if you excel at the novel, you don't excel at the short story, and vice versa. Well, based on the one story only by Edward P. Jones, it's called The Girl Who Raised Pigeons. I would say Edward P. Jones excels at both. I've only read one novel and one short story, but that's enough for me to say that my theory is blown to smithereens. I left a message for Sonia about that story, and I wasn't speechless. I did blather on, but what I kept saying over and over was that I didn't know how to talk about the depth at which that story resonated for me and left this, not aftertaste, but echo inside my body. It was just incredible. So that's going well. We're doing 2 stories a week, so I'm looking forward to diving into the next story, the second story, soon. And finally, I have a pseudo-bail. It's a pre-bail to tell you about. Last week I told you all that I was interested in the selection for Mel's Around the World Book Club. It was on Scribd, and I apparently was confused about whether it was a translation or not. It's not a translated book. Dune Song by Anissa Bozian, set in Morocco, about a Moroccan-American woman who goes back to Morocco after the September 11th terrorist attack. The chapters were very short, so I read the first 3 chapters, which was maybe 10 or less pages of the book, and I hated it. So I didn't count it as a bail, but I found it really sickeningly earnest. Now, it's a very serious topic, but there was something incredibly cloying about it that just made me ill, and I knew it wasn't going to be a Sean book, so I'm not counting it as a bail, but I'm telling you that it was a pre-bail or a pseudo-bail, and I ain't going to be trying that one. So I wanted something else that wasn't so white and English. So I had bookmarked on Scribd recently a Chinese novel that was written in the 1940s by a woman, and I have started it, and am not far enough into it to tell you very much.
马伯乐，马伯乐。
Okay, I'm including what I found on Google Translate. The Chinese pronunciation of the title, and it is the same title in English, is Ma Bo Lu. And here is the cover so you can see how it's rendered in English. Ma Bo Lu. I guess somebody who didn't know that would just try to say Ma Bo Le or something. But there, I've just checked it. According to Google Translate, that's the Chinese pronunciation of the title. And the author is
小红
Zhao Hong. Zhao Hong was a writer in China who died very young. She died at the age of 30 in 1942 in Hong Kong, born in 1911. According to her Wikipedia page in English, she died during the chaos of war-torn Hong Kong at a hospital in 1942, and that's all the information is there. I haven't tried to do any further research about what that's all about yet, but her life story sounds fascinating, and Ma Bo Lu was published in 1940. I'm only a couple chapters in, so I don't know. I'm not in love with the translation. Let's find out who did the translating. Translated from the Chinese by Howard Goldblatt, and apparently this was an unfinished manuscript and he completed it, so that I don't think I knew that until I just looked it up here. I haven't given you the title yet. It's been showing on the screen all this time, but it's Ma Bo Lu's Second Life. The premise of the novel is really interesting, which is that a Hong Kong historical society in the 1980s has found an unpublished anonymous manuscript hiding in a closet somewhere that is a fictionalization about a prominent Hong Kong family, and they bring the manuscript to a man who is a member of that family, and he is reading it, and it's about his father, and it doesn't cast his father in a flattering light. The opening sentence of the novel about his father is, and his father is Ma Bo Lu. Ma Bo Lu was a coward even before the war. So that's an interesting premise, and then we go right into that opening chapter and getting a lot of background on his family, and his father was an Anglophile, Hong Kong Chinese, in the early 20th century, and it's interesting details. Like I say, I'm not in love with the writing, so I don't know how I will get along with it, but I am curious to find out. So, I mentioned other books last week that I was thinking I might start that I haven't gotten to. I'm not going to re-enumerate them. I am not planning to start anything else in the next week, but that doesn't mean that I won't start anything else in the next week. It just means that I might be spontaneous, which is the goal of 2020, and I'm just kind of falling more and more into this whole slow reading business. Like, I really, one part of myself was saying, come on, Sean, push yourself to finish at least one or two more of these novels that you started in early February, and the much larger other part of me answered back, no goddamn way! I'm reading some good stuff, and I don't want to rush just so I can have more to talk about on a particular Friday. I want to keep reading slowly and sink into the stories. So that's working well for me thus far in 2020. I hope whatever reading strategy or resolution or philosophy that you are exploring is working well for you. Tell me all about it. Thanks for watching.